Working on some camera issues. Hopefully I'll fix them in a minute. Well, maybe I'll fix them in a minute. Okay, I brought you up on this screen to start because apparently the camera is not being helpful as usual, so I just got it fixed. So if you have a question, try and put it in the chat. I'm going to talk about a couple of different issues, things you haven't seen before, hopefully. But there is a display that I haven't shown in a long time, and I want to see if I can upgrade it and use it on the MKS configuration. So I'm gonna bring us over to the regular screen, and I might turn up the light a little depending upon how bad it gets. But here's the MKS version for the TFT 35 version 1.0. And it's been a while since I've done an update, and I know there's been some changes. So I'm going to pop this off, and we'll talk about this real quick, and then we'll try and install it. Let me fix the light here a little. So essentially, this display is slightly different. And someone pointed out today some interesting things about it. And essentially, it's not working the way it originally was when I first got it. So we're going to try and upgrade it. And it might be different from what I originally did. But here's an SD card I'm going to use for it. And I'm going to go over to the website for this in just a second. I just had to break one out here so you can see. So I'm going to go over to GitHub for MKS, I hope. And I'll show you what I'm doing in a second. I just want to make sure I can get there. There we go. So over here we have the MKS site, and we're looking for the TFT display. So we're going to go to TFT and see if it shows up. So we have two of them right here. Then we have another one here and another one here. So we'll click on this one because it's a 35, I think. Actually, it's a 35, so it might not be in here, but let's see what we've got for project files. Apparently that's USB stuff. Utilities. So that's probably not the right file. So let's see if it's in here. So I know this is going to be weird, and that's why I'm doing this. So we don't see it there. So apparently it's looking like we got this option here. And this is a bunch of different displays. Last updated 12 months ago, it looks like, for MKS TFT laser. And then we have 12 months ago for the TFT 3.5. So we're going to download this right here and grab it in a zip. So this might take a second to pull down. But you can post questions while I'm doing that. And so as soon as this gets pulled down, it'll be in here. As you can see, it's downloading as we speak. It's moving very slow, which is surprising. But let me check to see what we got here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a second screen and show you what else you can do. For Big Tree Tech, they also have a download for touchscreens. So if we click in here, we might see something for our display, which is super odd, I know, but I thought I saw something in here. Let's go back. Yep, we have stuff for the MKS in here. So you see MKS TFT 35. So I'm going to grab this as well, and hopefully this will pull down just as well. And we're going to see if we can do either or. So let's check the downloads. Looks like they're taking forever, which is very interesting. So we're gonna have to wait on that and see what happens. So between these two, what we're gonna have to figure out, hang on a second, I gotta go to YouTube and change something real quick here. These two. Sorry for the echo. I have to change a setting. Otherwise, YouTube will change the setting on me later. Okay, that's done. So it looks like we got both the downloads here. So I'm going to right click on the first one and I'm going to extract it. And then I'm going to click on the other one and extract that as well. And essentially what we're doing is we're pulling down both versions to see if they work. So it's been forever since I've upgraded these, so hopefully I know the directions still. But I have to go over to the desktop for a second and put this inside a card reader. And so I'll slip it in here. And this board actually for this display should be powered off your maker base. So I gotta grab one of those. So I'm trying to find a newer version of the board, just so I don't give you something that's old that hasn't been worked with in a while. So the board we're going to use is going to be the MKS Gen L version 2.0. And we may even hook up steppers to it, so I'm going to line it so it's actually seeable there too. So I'm going to move this down probably a bit so that we can get that in there. And then I'm also going to lock this down so it doesn't slide around for safety. But I may have to adjust the power supply for this as well, because there have been some issues with the connector I use on this particular one, so I might have to swap them. So let's align that right here. And then we'll put the display right about here for now. And this is auxiliary 1. So we're going to plug it in here. Then we're going to plug in auxiliary 1 on this board, which you can't read very well. And you're going to use a notch connector. And the way it gets powered is actually through the USB. So we might have issues depending upon how it's configured. So it's powering up, but I have it upside down, I guess. So I'll flip it over. So it looks like we have tools, settings, printing. We know that this is a version 1.0. So let's go to tools. So let's go back. Settings. This would be the configuration for Wi-Fi and other things, I guess. Also language. So we can change it to French maybe, or Français. And it doesn't look super different. Obviously it says langue. So let's try something else here real quick. There's Espanol. I don't see anything for Polish or Ukrainian, or I don't see German, but that might be it. So let's change it to English and see what happens. So there's no German here either. So we're gonna have to fix that. We'll see if we can add different languages. I don't know how well this is gonna work out. So let's power this down and go over to the computer for a second. So on the computer, we have both of these expanded. So we're gonna start with this one. So we're just gonna go in here and we're gonna look around. Now their instructions aren't super. Notice how they have different folders. So if we go in here, we have to look around. It's got TFT 35 v1.08, and it's a rare file. Then we also have 7, which is not. So we're gonna have to extract this probably. And hopefully this will give us some idea of what we're working with. So if we go in here, you can see there's English, then we have MKS fonts, MKS pick. So these are going to be binary files apparently. And these are going to be apparently binaries as well. So that's super confusing. Then we have a configuration file. Inside here, it looks similar. You pick the board type. Then you have your different settings, your speed, which is right here. Languages, or multi-language. So either on or off. Language settings. So it looks somewhat limited in languages here. So we have simplified Chinese, traditional Chinese, English, Russian, Espanol, Francais, and Italiano. But let's take a look at the other one, because I don't want to go all the way through this and then find out we can't change it. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to go back to the downloads folder. I'm going to look at the other one we extracted for Big Tree Tech and see how that looks. So apparently we have the display down here that we can use. So maybe we can try that out. But let's try the other one first, just because I want to see how bad this turns out. Hey, Happy Rob, how's it going? Hey, Max. It's starting to get crowded in here. Thanks, Max. So essentially, this is going to be somewhat confusing for me and possibly you. This is the MKS configuration for MakerBase. This is the display that I got a long time ago. So hopefully I don't destroy it doing this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go into the extracted folder that I had for it. Hopefully I'm in the right folder. There we go. And I'm just going to, I believe, copy this over to the folder. This might be kind of weird because I don't understand what that is, but these are the fonts. They're in binaries. These are the pics. They're in binaries. So this could turn into a very fun time very quick, but I think these are supposed to go to the root of the drive. So I'm going to highlight these. I'm not using Wi-Fi, so I'm not going to copy that over. So I'm going to send it to my F drive, but the problem is I probably have a bunch of stuff on the F drive, or not, which it looks like I don't. So I'm going to pop that out and see if I can install it. Yeah, it's getting late here too. So I'm going to pop this back in. I'll show you what I'm doing because apparently I've got it on the wrong screen. So I'm putting the drive back in here. And I'm going to power it on and see if it actually loads. I don't know if it will. Technically you can't screw this up. You just have to do it over again. So I'm going to plug this in and we'll see what happens. So it says erasing sectors. Now it says uploading. So it looks like it's flashing. And PIC is probably photo image control, is my guess is what they're calling it. Or it's some kind of other acronym. SPI is serial peripheral interface. That's how it's possibly communicating. Although I believe it might be slightly different. But you can see that it's loading a bunch of files. Hopefully I'm holding it at a better angle so you can see. And hopefully this actually works. I put this down for about 3 years, so I haven't really played with it much, being the displays. So this might come out very interesting. But it looks like it's extracting bin files. They're basically binary files, but they're probably pictures. So it looks like something worked. So it looks like we've got the display. If we go to more, there's not much more apparently. So let's go back, settings, language, still the same. So apparently we've got a little bit of functionality here. We have configuration, we have machine type. It says normal, machine, or delta, so I guess you can configure different types of printers. Temperature, I guess the max nozzle temperature is going to be 270 Celsius, but usually that's controlled by G codes when you load a file. Enable heat bed. I guess there's one temperature, but you can choose another one. And customize display config. Let's see. Button 3 effect. Let's try yes, but I think we already have it on. Let's go back. So maybe that isn't that interesting. Let's see, config, custom, display, no. So apparently it makes no sense. So let's try the other config because I'm just going around in circles here. So I'm going to power this down. I'm going to pop this in here, hopefully correctly. And then put it in the computer and we'll see what happens if we can do the other one. I might screw it up, so this will be interesting. Let's go back over to the desktop. Downloads. Excuse me. Then we'll go to Big Tree Tech. Inside here, it says copy this directory. So let's copy that directory, but unfortunately we have these still in here. As you can see, they turned to cur for what they were currently loaded for. Otherwise they would be something else. So let's go back and do that. So we're going to copy this or send it to the F drive. This might take a second. I'll check on the chat while that's going on. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of people are busy with family work as well. Hobby Rob, I understand that. So let's see. I see you've hit most of the benchmarks for custom BTT boards and the initial hardware and software setups. Let's see. Are your patrons wanting anything more in advance of those setups? Actually, I have another setup on Patreon. If people don't know about it, I am working on something called the Max 8, or I'm sorry, Monster 8. I'm probably going to re-record the initial video for the basics again, because I learned some new stuff while working with it that many of you have probably already seen, but I'll show you the board, but I'm not going to demonstrate it tonight. This is the Monster 8. It's similar to the Octopus. It's got some new and different functionality, more fans and all that stuff. But I'll talk about that more in the videos when they come out. I kind of want to be generic about it for now. Let's see. Like the ADXL 345, input shaping, linear advance. Yeah, I've got some more research to do on a lot of new subjects. Oh, sorry. I'll show you the board again. I keep forgetting that I switched displays while I'm working. So let me switch it so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is the Monster 8. As you can see, it's got a lot of steppers on it. And it's got some interesting functionality that I'll talk about fans. You got a lot of fan functionality and it's all in one place, so it's easy to find. It's got 3 extruders by default for ports. And then obviously there's some USB functionality, and then there's an RJ11 or 45, I can't tell which right now. And then of course it's got its normal functionality for displays on the far right. And there's also some, I believe, UART, CAN bus, and I2C right in here. And then there's jumpers to set it, but I'll cover those in other tutorials. Unfortunately, I don't know how the jumper system works too well yet, so gotta hold off on that. So let's go back over to the desktop for a second. And we've copied this over, so let's do this quick. We're gonna open this. We're gonna pick a theme. I like unified menu because I know it doesn't break. So we'll put that on the root. Then we'll find our particular setup, which is the MKS TFT 35V1_0. This may not work for a load, just so you guys are aware. I've never done this before. And then language pack. We're gonna copy English maybe, and maybe Polish. Let's try a couple of these, see if it works. English, Polish, and Ukrainian, and send those to the drive. And then we'll go back again and see if there's anything else we need to copy. Config files. So we'll copy this one over. I don't know about the other one. I don't think that has a functional need at the moment. And then we'll go over here and we'll see if, whoop, can't open that one, sorry. Can open this one though. And let's see what this looks like. So we've got to possibly specify our display type. So what we're going to look for is TFT35, if there is one in here. Why did I get the impression there was? Might not be. That's awesome. Maybe it doesn't exist. So this might be a waste. But it does right there. Gotta love how they think these things out. So maybe I'm not seeing it, or they wrote something duplicate, or they have a product named MKS that I don't know about. But let's give it a try, see how bad it gets. So I'm gonna leave this as default. I'm gonna look for the language. See if we have that here. I know I probably scrolled by it. There we go. And secondary language. So right now it's English. Secondary we could say is 1. But I think you got to do this to do it. I've never done this, so this is going to be interesting. And then we're going to go back, save that, make sure that we have our display on the drive. And I have a funny feeling this is going to come up as a Big Tree Tech product after we're done doing this, if it works. So let's see what happens, because this might be a total disaster to watch. So let's go back over to the workbench. Pop out the drive. I'm getting the feeling this is not going to work, but we shall see. Plug it in. If we mess up, we can always reload it. So it didn't work. So I have no clue why they put that there on their website, or I don't know what the process is, so we could probably look around and see. Let's go back over here and see what goes on. So if we're in this folder and we want to do MKS, we'll search on MKS. And it looks like MKS sGen L boards with BTT 35 E3 version 3. So let's click over here and see what's going on. So apparently it's two different subject matters. So this is the board we're working with. So to hook this up, it's looking like they're talking about how to do it right here. So unfortunately they give us a blurry image, which is just totally useful. So I'm guessing gray, red, orange, and yellow. And then it's different over here, so I gotta get some jumper pins. But we're gonna look up the pins on that board. So if we go back over to MakerBase, we're gonna, I guess, do something interesting here. We're gonna try to do the other board. Someone asked me about this a while ago. Let me just check on the chat before I go too far off on a tangent. So let's see. Looks real similar to the BTT. Yes, the Monster 8 looks very similar. It's laid out slightly different. Yeah, it is a big board, but you can also do some interesting stuff with bigger boards using both Marlin and Clipper now. I will start expanding Clipper tutorials when I have more time. Well, good night, Rob. Let's see. What's your question, Rob? What is the basic software with which you shoot the software into the board? For, let's see, the basic software for which board? For the Monster 8 or the MakerBase? MakerBase is going to be made by MakerBase apparently, because it doesn't work with the current one on Big Tree Tech because I don't know how to do it yet. And then for the other board, the Monster 8 is going to take Marlin or Clipper. But I'm not exactly sure what the question is, so we'll figure that out later. But let's try and figure out this software load real quick. So I need to find the board for the MKS Gen L V, and there it is. Oh, SKR E3 dip. That's a board type. What they're referring to is the actual board for the display. So if you go back over here, the display they're using, according to this, I think is the TFT E3 version 3. So let me see if I've got one. Probably do. Just where I have it. So I've got a similar board, and I know I have the board, I just don't know where I put it. But I'm guessing the process is going to be similar, so I'm going to use this board, which is the TFT 35MZ version 3. It's the same form factor. I don't know why it's different. It might have a different processor, but we'll give it a try. Hopefully we'll figure it out. Apparently the display for this person's notes, which is up on GitHub, has a slightly different way to do it, but we need to know the pins. So let's go back over here and look for the pins. So hopefully we'll get a pinout diagram in one of these folders. And what he's talking about for pins are up in here. So we have 5 volts ground, P02, P03. That's what I think he's using. That's why I guessed 5 volts ground, then this, then this. So let's go back over to the directions and see what's going on here. So let's see, MKS board, there's an issue involving the MKS, yada yada yada. If you get a blank screen. So what we're gonna do is emulate what they're doing here. Those are female jumpers. So I gotta find some. This might take a second for me to dig. Here we go. Now I just gotta find the right jumper type. So we're probably gonna change up the colors a little. I have to go back and verify what they are because I don't want to cook the board or either board. So I'm going to pull off red, black. You'll see what I'm doing in a second. And then I'm going to do, I guess, yellow and orange. Okay, let me switch to where you can see what I'm doing. Mind you, I haven't done this before, so this is going to get interesting rather quick. So, I got some of the wires. I'm going to actually disconnect this and this. And they talked about the pins and where we need to go, being the top row right in here. There's 4 pins. So the first one, according to what we saw, was going to be 5 volts. So I'm going to take this pin and stick it on the 5 volts. Then the next one's going to be ground. So I'm going to stick this on the ground. And then we're going to move over to the colors, which are going to be orange and yellow. And we're going to try and emulate what he did here, because I know he knows it better than I do at the moment. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to flip this over. And we need to know where the pins are for this. So there's going to be no reset at the moment. So I need to find RS-232 on here. So it looks like it's right there. So that's going to be the port we're going to use. So they labeled the pins actually so you can see them. So we have ground voltage on the end. So first we got voltage, then we got ground. This might be kind of tight in the actual place we're putting it. So there's ground. And then these are probably going to be reversed. So we have RX and TX. So we'll connect these right here. And then we'll see if we can light this up. I might have to do longer cables because this is making me nervous. But we'll see what happens. So it looks like it boots up. It says no printer attached, obviously. So we're going to have to go over to Marlin and set this up. But I'm actually going to set up something to step over here, just so we can experiment. So the first thing we need to figure out is what to do. So I'm going to go back over to the manual for the MKS and let you see what I'm doing. And I need to figure out what the jumper settings are, because the last time I did tutorials on this, it was a wiki, and now they have a manual apparently. So let's see what we've got here. Data sheet maybe? Oh, let's see. This is going to be probably for the chipset. So it's a chipset data sheet. That's useless to us right now. So let's go to firmware, see if they put it in there. I'm probably going right by it, and you guys are probably telling me that right now. It says Marlin 2.0.6 here, which is very old. And that's a binary for something else. Let's see if we've got a manual. That's awesome. I thought there was a manual up here. So let's go back to the other directory. Sorry, this is a little bit all over the place. Awesome. So let's see if there's a wiki. Yeah, there's still a wiki. Let's find the stepper type. We're gonna probably do TMC 2209s. And of course they don't show the jumper positions. There we go. So UART is that jumper position where they have the equal sign. So let's go back and give that a try. I might be getting my boards confused for which ones they have manuals for and which ones they don't. So there's one in there. It has to be on these two jumpers right here for UART. And I need to double check that because I can't see super well with the lighting. But it looks good from here, so let me find a stepper real quick. Apparently I've got them in different drawers, so it takes me a second to locate them. Here we go. TMC 2208s. We want to do TMC 2209s. I'm going to leave off the cooling fins on it because we're not going to be doing a lot of stepping. So I'm just going to place this according to the pins right here. And that should be good. Then we'll bring this in here. And I may have to modify the power supply because I have it set for something else. So let me first connect this. I think it's over here. It's hard to tell from this angle. Make sure there's no obstruction there. Okay, so we got that done. Now what we need to do is figure out the power. And then there might be a jumper that we have to worry about for USB, but I think it's automatic on this board, so it'll power up either way. Because I don't see one right away. So let me grab the power supply. And it looks like I have the right connectors on there already. So what I need to do is double check the manual so I don't cook anything by accident. So we'll go back. And we'll go over to the pinouts. And I'll show you what I'm doing. So over here I want to connect the actual power. So I need to figure out which one's negative and positive. So you can see that it's negative here, positive here. So let's go back over to the workbench. Take a screwdriver and loosen these up. Now you know I'm using ferrule connectors. Someone asked me the other day what size is largest. Obviously I put a key on top of these boards so I know what color I can use. The actual sizing depends upon what fits in the hole. And this hole isn't open yet. There it goes. So that won't move. Let's do the same over here. Doesn't feel right. Obviously I can't look right now, so let's try that again. Okay, that's not moving. So let's pop out the drive, put in the USB card reader, and we're going to see if this works. So I'm going to connect this to the computer. Now, I just learned something today from one of the viewers about the display. So this I'm going to do backwards from the way I normally do it on purpose. So we're going to go over to VS Code as soon as I get it up on the other screen. And I already have something extracted, so I'm going to go to the Marlin folder, and the Marlin folder below that. Now this is a MKS version 2, so it's MKS Gen L. So Marlin source core boards. We'll search on MKS space sGen. Now we'll try underscore because it's been a while since I've done this. And you can see a bunch of sGen Ls, but I know ours is located someplace else. Hopefully I didn't scroll by it. So we'll do the sGen L V V. There we go. And here's the board we're looking for. Notice it's an LPC 1769, so it should be easy. Copy that, minimize that, go to configuration.h, search on motherboard, which is now just real close by. We're going to paste it over the ramps. And so what I'm going to do here is backwards. I'm going to leave this 0 because apparently the MKS boards work slightly different. And I'm going to enable this one for our USB connection. Now they can be reversed. Normally I do it the other way on the Big Tree Tech. But since learning this and the issues that the end user had, it's actually the opposite. So let's go over to Platform IO. Change this to LPC 1769 for the processor, which is located in the normal place that I find it over here. So I'm just using this one. I just have this one memorized. So let's minimize this and set up the sensorless homing. So first we're going to search on A4988. We're going to change the first one to TMC 2209. We're going to paste it right here. Then we're going to go over to advanced. I'm going to cut out some of the steps I normally talk about. Search on 800. We're enabled here, so we're good. So we're going to search on TMC debug. We're going to enable monitor driver status, and we're going to find the next one so that we can turn on debug messages. Then we're going to go up one, and we're going to search on sensorless homing. So I need to find this one. There it is. So we'll remove the comment to enable it, and we'll change X to 125 because that's right in the middle up here between these two, almost in the middle. So now that we've got that set and sensorless homing's enabled, we're going to go back over to the garbage can over here for Platform IO and clean out the previous build. And then technically we can connect to this with the USB, but I'm trying to keep everything similar. So I'm going to just hit the checkbox and then copy it over to the drive. And while that's building, I'll check on the chat. So let's see, E3 dip. It looks like the actual build failed, so we're going to build again just to make sure that it's not something that normally happens, where something builds out of order. If we do have a failure, then we'll go and we'll find it and fix it. But this in theory should be pretty easy. So me figuring stuff out on the fly might be messy, as some people have seen before, so there's no promises this will work. So we're going to find our build right here. We're going to reveal in File Explorer. Then we're going to drop it on our drive, which is right here. And that was the past build that was on there. So let's send it. Make sure it got there. Now we'll go back over to the desktop. Pop out the drive. Plug in the SD card. Power it and see if it lights up. And then we have some configuration that we might need to do on the actual display. So it's giving us an all low. That has to do with we haven't plugged in the power. We do have some kind of connectivity occurring here. So I'm going to plug in the actual power to the board. Hopefully we won't see smoke. So let me lift this up and see if this works. Menu. Let's try movement. Move X. So it's moving. So it looks like we got that figured out. Let's see if we can increase the motion. That's good. So I guess you can do this on another board. So let's try homing X. That might not work. So it's telling us there's a kill message. So there might be a setting that's wrong on the actual setup for the stepper, but I'm going to power this down for the moment. Essentially, we achieved the goal of actually making it work, which was what we were trying to do. Now it's more troubleshooting another issue that came up. So let's see if we can figure out what that issue is. So we don't actually have to disconnect this now. We can actually load firmware directly across in this configuration. But maybe someone has a guess as to what the issue is. So what we're going to do is we're going to try connecting via Pronterface and seeing if we can figure out what this is. Because I know I've experienced this. Oh, I know what the issue is. Duh. Sorry. I'll wake up in a minute. So let me check where you guys are. You're going to know this right away after I show you it. But I have to change the display so I can see. So down in here, if I power this off, we may have to set a jumper for this, and it's already got the jumper allegedly. So let me pop this out, and I'm going to double check it with the actual pinout diagram. So if we go over here, we go to this, you can see X minimum, and then it says the diag pin. So that should be correct. So we might either have a bad jumper or stepper. So I'm going to connect this, and I'm also going to try this in Marlin, but let me show you what I'm doing. So I have it right here. So I'm going to push that down. I'm going to power it back up. It's going to say low power, but let's try this a backwards way. I'm going to disconnect this fully, plug this in, and now you won't see a low power message. So let's go to menu, movement, double check the movement. Well, it's not moving now. So I either have a loose wire, which I do, so let me power this down. These two wires came loose. And hopefully they're in a different order. And I didn't put them back in the same. Let's give it a try. Menu, movement, 10. Okay, let's go back. Let's do home. I think I had it on the y-axis. That's why I'm worried. Yeah, so I had the jumper on the y-axis. That was the whole issue. So I guess this does work kind of well. So does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? This is a weird tutorial for me because I'm kind of making it up as I go along. Obviously the screen needs some cleaning. Let me go over and check on the chat. So whoever asked for that a couple of weeks ago and I forgot about it, that's how you do it. I guess you want to do a reset button on that. Unbelievable, but the engine does run. Yeah, it did work, the stepper. Apparently you can hook up a TFT display by Big Tree Tech to a MKS sGen L, which I did not know, but obviously I've seen in the uploads before the actual configuration. What I'm confused about is why they're putting firmware up there, but we'll figure that out some other time. So let me read through this and see if there was more information I missed. Oh, he's telling you can do the smart controller as well. I guess you can do some more functionality, but needless to say, I think we figured it out. It was more interesting than I thought it would be. But there is a way to wire in the reset button. I think there's a reset pin on the board, but haven't done it yet, so I'd have to actually go to the pinout diagram and see if we can find it. Might be grounding, but I don't see the reset pin right away. There's a reset pin right there. So I wonder if we connect that, but now I got to figure out where it is. So I think it's this one, but they don't label these. You see how it says J55? That usually tells you what box you're on down here. So here's another thing I can show you how to troubleshoot. I think this is for Wi-Fi, but it says Wi-Fi, so we don't have to troubleshoot it. So usually squares are supposed to be ground, but apparently that's not always true. So ground is over here. Reset is located right there, allegedly. So let's try and see if we can do the reset real quick. So I'm going to do this without actual power, just in case I screw up. So I don't want you to see too much smoke. So I know there is no reset button on here, so that's going to make it interesting. Let's flip it over and see if there's one over here. So there's a reset pin right here. So it turns off the power here, but doesn't turn it off on the board. So I'm going to put this down and show you where it is. There's a reset pin right there, I believe. It's upside down, so I can't read it. But we also have our reset pin here. So let me get a longer connection. Hopefully a different color. So I'm going to use brown. I believe it's this one right here on the board, and this one over here. But I'm gonna double check it before I power it up. So I know you can't see what I'm doing, so let me bring it back over to what I did. So I placed the pin right here for reset. Let me get my finger out of the way. And then another one where that empty reset is on the board for the display. But I want to double check before I make a huge error. So as you can see over here, we want this pin to be this, being reset. So let's see what happens if we do this. So I'm going to power this up. And then I'm going to hit this pin and see what happens. So it does work. So there is a reset pin. And you didn't see any smoke. So if you're looking for the reset pin, that's where it is. So does anybody have any questions? Unfortunately, I have to go to bed, Ed. Must get up early. Okay, thanks, Rob. Is it Guten Abend? I know you're nearby there in the Netherlands, or is it, what is it, good night in French, I think. Or bye. Everyone take care, Rob. So let's see. Does anybody have any questions or comments or concerns? Because I think I'm going to make this into a tutorial soon. Walter Ristron. I'm mangling it right now. But so I guess if no one's got any questions tonight, just so you guys know, there is a Discord if you don't already know about it. So I'm gonna pull that up real quick so you can see it, because a lot of people can answer questions other than me. And I'll bring it over here so you can see it. So we have a Discord over here. Most of the questions occur in open chat. And then there's also general print quality, BTT, TFT. That's what I was talking about tonight. Someone asked about this a while ago and I forgot about it. We have a BL Touch room, a Clipper room, and then share your designs where people like to share what they're working on. So you can brag a little about what you're working on. So there's some interesting things in here that you can go into. And then let's see, printer quality. I talk about how to control your print better, and sometimes people need a little bit of direction on how to clean it up. So this is one of the concepts that I talk about for how to control your extruder. Excuse me. Let's see. Okay, it worked. So he's telling me what happened. So I still need to talk with this person further, but it looks like they're well on their way. And then there are other problems that I talk about and try and understand what's going on with different printers. This one was a good one today. Apparently I didn't realize that the jumper was in the wrong position and they had trouble loading their printer board. So as you can see, I can't even see the jumper right now. I think it's in here someplace. But he was able to figure it out by watching one of my tutorials, so that is one way you can do that. And for the patrons, I will be putting up Guten Abend, yeah. For the patrons, I will be putting up tutorials before everybody else on YouTube can see them. As well as I have to say thank you to the patrons that also help make this possible. As well as the people on PayPal. So if you guys don't have any questions tonight, you know where to ask questions. There's actually on this YouTube requests, you can put in here what you're looking for, and I can do a tutorial on it for you. So normally I don't get to them right away. This is one of the good ways to at least give me a checklist of things you're interested in. And everyone take care, be safe, and I'll catch up with you hopefully sometime this week if I'm not too tired. And we'll go into more interesting issues.